Okay, same format as the last video, let's go. Fortified Dark Moon. Fortified Dark Moon, more like Fortified Dark Doom. It's like they took the concept of risk versus reward and then just chucked a whole bucket of risk on top. That 30% health penalty, that's a self-inflicted stab wound. You'll be running around chugging potions like a scuba addict just to stay alive. Like, who designed this thing? Were they cackling crazily the whole time?
Mwahaha. Let's give them a little magicka, but also let's make them super squishy.
It's like a cruel joke from Sheer Gorath himself. That said, I guess maybe if you're going for some kind of super challenging masochistic mage build, this might be your thing. Speaking of, how about that challenge run, wizards? What say you? F tier. Fortify lockpicking. Okay, why would I use this? Why would anyone ever use this? First, we've got the skeleton key. It's unbreakable. Enough said. Second, we've got the lockpicking skill tree. Unlock a few perks there and you'll be picking master locks like a pro. Lastly, and this is my favorite method, save scumming. Come on, admit it. We've all done it. Master lock, quick save, fail, reload. It's the Skyrim equivalent of Control Z for lockpicks. Or Z for you Americans. So yeah, fortify lockpicking, don't pick it, F tier. Resist disease. Resist disease. Seriously, this enchantment is so bad, it makes me want to contract every disease in Skyrim just so I have an excuse not to use it. I mean, who's actually worried about catching a disease? Are you role-playing a hypochondriac Nord? Oh no, I might get ataxia. My lockpicking will get slightly worse. Boo-hoo, go chug a potion or pray at a shrine. Problem solved. Hell, even hawk feathers and garlic bread can do the trick. Yeah, those hawk feathers taste like ass, but at least you're not turning into a vampire now. So, resist disease, I need a cure. For boredom, F tier. Resist poison. Again, resist poison is like bringing a raincoat to a desert. Sure, technically it might rain someday, but you're probably gonna look like a buffoon. I mean, yes, there are poisonous critters in Skyrim, spiders, those creepy chorus things, and some of those pointy-eared fauna. But let's be real, are they really the biggest threat you're facing? I've been more worried about tripping over a loose cobblestone in Whiterun than getting poisoned. The Bosma and Red Guards are practically immune to this stuff already as well. And vampires, well, they probably use poison as mouthwash. So who exactly are we enchanting our gear for here? Nazim? So he doesn't get a tummy ache from eating too many Jazbay grapes? I'd rather enchant my boots with the ability to make my fart smell like lavender. Now that's an enchantment I could get behind. E tier. Fortify Barter. Fortify Barter is like that one friend who always has a coupon. Useful, but kinda meh. Now I get it, early on this enchantment is your best friend. You can finally afford to upgrade that rusty sword to a slightly less rusty sword. Huzzah! But then you hit level 20. You've got pockets overflowing with septims, and you're buying houses just to store all your dragon bones. At that point, haggling feels less like a strategic move and more like a chore. Seriously, I'd rather fight a room full of angry chickens than try to shave off another 2% at the Riverwood Trader. It's just not worth my time. As they say, time is money. D tier. Fortify heavy armor and fortify light armor. Well, these enchantments exist, and that's about the nicest thing I can say about them. It's like they're trying to solve a problem that wasn't even a problem to begin with. You know, like inventing a self-stirring spoon for your coffee, when you already have a perfectly good spoon and the ability to, like, move your arm. Personally, I've never used them, not even when I was a newbie running around in my skivvies and getting clobbered by wolves. Why? Because smithing exists. With a little bit of work, and maybe a few dozen iron daggers, you can easily hit the armor cap without wasting enchantment slots on this stuff. And once you do hit it, these enchantments become completely and utterly redundant. And get this, for some reason you can put fortify heavy armor on light armor, and vice versa. It's like wearing mismatched socks with sandals while riding a horse backwards. Just no, why would you do that? It's aesthetically offensive and practically useless. D tier. Fortify pickpocket. Okay, so first up, let's talk about the sheer audacity of this enchantment. Are you telling me I should invest precious enchanting resources to increase my chances of pilfering pocket lint? Don't even get me started on the risk to reward ratio. You're risking jail time, all for what? A couple of gold coins and the lingering scent of old cheese? I mean, where's the good stuff? are all the valuable treasures hidden in dungeons guarded by Draugr and Frostbite spiders? Because that's where I find them, not in some random villager's pocket. D tier. Water breathing. Okay, so breathing underwater. Sounds kinda cool, right? Like your Aquaman's slightly less cool cousin. But let's be honest here, how often are you just chilling in the depths of Skyrim's lakes and rivers? Unless you're trying to find that one sunken chest with like 3 septums and a moldy sweet roll, you're better off sticking to dry land. And to be fair, there are plenty of ways to breathe underwater. Potions, spells, heck, even the Argonians have it covered. They're probably down there right now, having tea parties in their underwater mud huts. Now, I'm not saying it's useless. I mean, maybe, just maybe there's that one time you need to explore a sunken ship or something. And for that reason, I suggest keeping it in your pocket for when you need it. D tier. Fortify Alteration. So, Fortify Alteration, huh? Yeah, it's not exactly the rock star of enchantments. You're not gonna be like, dude, I cast Ebony Flesh for like way less Magicka. Nah, people want to hear about that time you turned a Dremora into a chicken or something. That's the kind of story that gets you free drinks at the Bannered Mare. Trust me, I speak from experience. But between you and me, that was one hell of an illusion trick. But here's the deal. Alteration magic, while cool, especially the whole turning your skin to iron thing, isn't exactly the most Magicka intensive school. I mean, compared to say Conjuration, where you're summoning Daedra left and right, Alteration is pretty chill. So do you really need the extra Magicka reduction? Personally, I'd rather save my enchantments for something a little more flashy. C tier. Fortify Archery. Ah, archery, a delicate art, the classic Skyrim experience. We've all been there. God fucking damn it. But let's be real, is this enchantment essential? I mean seriously, why waste an enchantment slot when you can literally improve your bow at a grindstone? It's like using a dragon shout to light a candle. Overkill much? The only time I'd ever really consider using Fortify Archery is for the bound bow, since that ethereal sucker can only be improved with perks. And even then, I'm kinda side-eyeing it. C tier. Fortify Healing Rate. So you thought you'd be a super healing, unkillable Wolverine, huh? Yeah, I had that dream too. Turns out it's more like a gentle nudge in the right direction. Like telling your grandma to maybe walk a little faster when you're trying to catch the bus. Okay, so my problem with this enchantment isn't just that it's weak. It's that Skyrim's healing in combat is ass. Out of combat, you're Deadpool. In combat, you're dead! You're more like a wounded mud crab. I'd much rather have something that gives me a quick boost, like Fortify Health, or even something that lets me steal health, like Absorb Health. C tier. Fortify Illusion. So, you're thinking about enchanting your gear to make those mind-bending spells a little less Magicka hungry, huh? Okay, I get it. I mean, who wouldn't want to be a master of the mind? Flitting about unseen, turning enemies against each other. But let's be real here, how often are you actually using illusion spells? I mean sure, invisibility and muffle are clutch for sneaking, but the rest of the illusion school, I mean come on, calm? I'd rather just hit him with a warhammer. Fear?
That's close enough.
Nah, my CBA to chase. Benzie?
Are you prepared to die?
Okay, that can be fun, I'll give you that. But still, personally, I'd rather set things on fire. Or, you know, summon a small army of angry Daedra. So unless you're playing a dedicated illusionist, I wouldn't bother. It's just gonna sit there, taking up space, making you feel slightly guilty every time you look at it. Just like that exercise equipment I bought, which I still haven't used. C tier. Fortify Magicka Regen. Fortify Magicka Regen to the rescue. Nah, it's like trying to fill a bathtub with a teaspoon while someone's pulling the plug. Sure, you're technically regenerating Magicka, but it's so slow, it's practically a joke. See, here's the deal. Just like its cousin Fortify Healing Rate, Magicka Regen takes a serious nap during combat. I'm talking it regenerates at like 1/3 the normal rate. So it's like the game is actively trying to sabotage your spellcasting career. And why would I put up with that? Sure, you could stack it on a bunch of armor pieces, go full on Magicka Regen mode, but even then, that combat penalty is a massive bummer. Personally, I'd rather just have straight up Fortify Magicka. You know, just a nice big pool of Magicka to draw from. Or even better, one of those Fortify Magic School enchantments to reduce the spell costs. That way, I don't need to regen as much in the first place. C tier. Fortify one-handed and Fortify two-handed. Now on paper, these bad boys sound amazing, right? Ooh, I'll hit harder. My greatsword will cleave through giants like butter. Yeah, well, hold your horses there, friend. There's a little snag, and it's got to do with daggers. Yep, those pointed little stabby things that every sneak character loves. Well, Fortify one-handed, it doesn't work on them. Like what in oblivion? It's like making a lock that only works with half the keys. So if you're a stealthy type, forget about it. As for Fortify two-handed, meh. It exists, which is nice I guess. But honestly, smithing's where it's at. You can sharpen and strengthen your weapons to the point where these enchantments become redundant. Unless of course you're all about those fancy schmancy bound weapons. Then yeah, go wild. C tier. Fortify sneak. There's definitely a thrill to creeping around, especially when you're about to introduce some poor bandit to the pointy end of your dagger. Especially when you've got the Assassin's Blade perk. But here's the thing, Fortify sneak, meh. Why bother when you've got those sweet sneak perks? Those bad boys can make you practically invisible. And let's not forget the magic. The invisibility and muffle spells are the magical equivalent of a silent fart. 1 minute you're there, the next, you're gone. Nobody heard a thing. But a certain aroma might betray your recent presence, particularly if cabbage stew is on the menu. C tier. Fortify stamina. Okay, so stamina is important. I mean, you gotta sprint, power attack, bash, all that fun stuff. But honestly, how often do you actually run out? Unless you're planning on running from one end of Skyrim to the other without stopping for a nail, it's usually not a big deal. And here's where things get interesting. Power attacks and bashing, they only need 1 point of stamina. 1. And you know what gives you 1 point of stamina regen per second? Vegetable soup. That's right, the culinary masterpiece of the common folk. One of these bad boys and you can power attack for 12 whole minutes. So who needs fancy enchantments when you've got Grandma's cooking? C tier. Fortify stamina regen. Now the only time I'd say Fortify stamina and Fortify stamina regen are useful is for bow zooming. If you're sniping bandits from a mountaintop, it could save your bacon. Other than that, just chug a vegetable soup. C tier. Resist shock. Getting zapped in the ass is no fun. I know because I dish out shock damage all the time. But honestly, how often does that really happen? I mean, compared to say getting barbecued by a dragon or turned into an ice sculpture by an ice mage, not so much. One could say it's shockingly specific. I'll see myself out. Personally, I'd rather have something a bit more versatile, like say resist magic. It protects from all kinds of magical nastiness, not just the sparky kind, which is just way more useful. C tier. Fortify unarmed. Who needs a fancy sword when you can just punch a dragon in the face? Personally, I love the idea of just going full-on bare-knuckle brawler, especially with a Khajiit or Argonian. Those claws are just begging for some action. But the problem with fisticuffs is that Skyrim's not exactly Street Fighter Tamriel Edition. There were no Hadoukens, no Shoryukens, just you and the Fists of Steel perk. So while the idea of Fortify Unarmed is awesome, the execution is, well, not the best. But hopefully, in Elder Scrolls 6, they'll finally give us the unarmed skill tree we all deserve. B tier. Resist fire and resist frost. These enchantments are like the peanut butter and jelly of elemental resistance. They're good on their own, giving you up to 85% resistance. But you know what's even better? Resist magic. Like, why bother with 2 elements when you can have all 3 elements? Or even better, why not just suck up all that magic like a magical sponge? Absorb Magicka is so overpowered, it's practically cheating. It absorbs all sorts of magic, not just spells. But sadly, you can't even learn it, so I won't be covering it in this video. B tier. Muffle. So the idea of this enchantment is that you sneak around, no one hears a peep, and you grab all that sweet loot. Sounds good in theory, but well, here's the thing. It's kinda finicky. See, the pre-enchanted muffle gear you stumble across in your adventures, they're only usually half as effective as they should be. So that silent fart you thought you got away with, yeah, the guards probably heard it. My deep condolences. However, if you take the time to enchant some boots with muffle yourself, then bam, you'll be 100% silent. It's like the game is apologizing for its earlier blunder.
Okay, we messed up the first time, but we'll let you fix it.
Now, muffle does help you sneak, especially against those blind, creepy former. It's like playing hide and seek with someone who's blindfolded, but also has super sensitive hearing. Anyway, combine muffle with invisibility and you're basically a ghost. Boo! Did I scare you? Sorry about that. But just like Fortify Sneak, there are sneak perks that make you completely silent anyway. So why bother with muffle when you can just be naturally stealthy? And let's not forget the muffle and invisibility spells. Magic makes everything easier. That's why your boy's a wizard. B tier. Fortify Block. Fortify Block makes your shield more like a brick and less like a wet paper bag. Seriously, it's like suddenly you're Captain America, but you know, in Skyrim. It can reduce incoming damage by up to 85%. So, with some rather intricate mathematics, we can conclude that if you're taking 100 damage with a max level Fortify Block enchantment of 85% on your armor, you are in fact only taking a measly 15 damage. Oh Jesus, that really hurt my throat. Honestly, I think it's those glasses. They get me in the mood for some reason. Anyways, what was I saying? Oh yeah, so that's like an 85% discount on getting your face smashed in. Combine that with some decent armor and you could be looking at a whopping 97% damage reduction. That's right, just 3% damage. So you're basically invincible. Well, almost. A tier. Resist magic. Now, I've been playing Skyrim since it came out. And let me tell you, I've mitigated more fireballs than a Khajiit chasing a laser pointer, thanks to this enchantment. Now, that's not to say it's perfect. Like, nothing in Skyrim is, except maybe cheese wheels. There's this pesky 85% cap. But if you pair it with, say, Resist Fire and any other resist enchantments, you're looking at a sweet 97% resistance to that element. So it's definitely a lifesaver. Though spell absorption is still like the ultimate defense in my opinion. A tier. Fortify Alchemy. Oh shit, we're starting off this S tier with a banger. This enchantment, my friends, is like the secret sauce for any aspiring potion master. Think of it as the difference between a skooma brewed in some back alley and a vintage Blackbriar reserve. And all of this is thanks to a game-breaking exploit, the Alchemy Loop. It's pretty simple really, once you get the hang of it. You enchant your gear with Fortify Alchemy, then you use that gear to brew some seriously potent Fortify enchanting potions. Then guess what? You use those potions to enchant even more ridiculously powerful Fortify Alchemy gear. It's like a Khajiit who found a skooma stash and then used that skooma to find more skooma. It just spirals out of control, and before you know it, you're crafting potions that make your weapons and armor so overpowered they could one-shot the Ebony Warrior with a fork.
At last, Sovngarde.
Like, where's the fun in that? You might as well open the console and give yourself God mode. So yeah, as cliche as it sounds, with great power comes great responsibility. S tier. Fortify Carryweight. Ah, Fortify Carryweight, the unsung hero of the Dragonborn's hoarding tendencies. We've all been there. You're knee-deep in some Draugr-infested crypt. You just looted an ancient Nord sword, probably worth a fortune, and bam, over-encumbered. It's like the game is personally mocking you. But fear not, my loot-loving friend. Fortify Carryweight is like a magical backpack expansion. Now, you're not just carrying around a sword and a few potions, you're lugging around enough cheese wheels to feed all of Whiterun. Who needs a pack mule when you've got this enchantment? Personally, I consider this enchantment essential, especially if you're a compulsive looter like me. S tier. Fortify Conjuration. Ah yes, the bread and butter of every aspiring necromancer, or as I like to call them, people with a lot of friends, of the deceased variety. This enchantment basically makes summoning your undead pals cheaper. Early on, it's kinda like trying to start a campfire with damp wood. You can maybe squeeze out an extra spectral wolf before your Magicka bar throws a hissy fit, but late game, you're practically Emperor Palpatine, flinging Dremora Lords around like they're, I don't know, promotional pamphlets for the College of Winterhold. Seriously though, max this bad boy out and you'll be swimming in summoned creatures. S tier. Fortify Destruction. I mean, come on, I'm a wizard, Harry. And anyway, even if I wasn't, this enchantment is still straight up busted. It makes your destruction spells cheaper, but here's the really sneaky bit. It also reduces the charge used on destruction weapon enchantments. So that sweet Starling battle axe of ultimate chaos you've got with that 100% fortify destruction enchantment on your gear? Yeah, it's basically infinite, so no more fiddling with soul gems. And of course, at 100%, your destruction spells cost nothing too. Combine this with the impact perk in the destruction tree, and you can basically stun lock enemies forever. It's so broken, it's almost unfair. S tier. Fortify Empower Necromancy. Ever dreamt of commanding a legion of undead without, using the ritual stone? Yeah, me too. And this enchantment gets you pretty darn close. It boosts the duration of your conjuration spells, but the real magic is the extra summoned creature. Now, before you start picturing yourself leading a Dremora Lord squad, because let's be honest, we all went there, there's a tiny snag. This bonus only works on lesser conjured creatures or reanimated undead. So in other words, adept level or below. So yeah, no Dremora Lord posse. Bummer, I know. But don't despair, my dark arts aficionados. We have a secret power, the Tomb Guardian. That dude, in my opinion, is the champion of the adept level, and you better take my word for it. So here's our plan. First, we summon a Bone Colossus, because who doesn't love a giant skeleton? Then a Dremora Lord, because, well, Dremora Lord. And then the Tomb Guardian. And since our bony pal the Bone Colossus brings along 2 extra skeletons, let's throw in a couple of Wrathmen for good measure. That's 5 summons, people. 5. And the best part? Combine this with the Fortify Enchanting Loop, and these undead allies will stick by your side longer than a Khajiit trying to haggle a better price on skooma. I seem to be throwing the Khajiit under the bus a lot today. I don't actually hate them, they're just easy targets. S tier. Fortify Health. Now, unlike its cousin, Fortify Health Regen, this bad boy actually does something. Warriors, they live for this stuff. Wanna go toe-to-toe with a Droga Deathlord? Fortify Health. Fancy a friendly chat with a giant? Fortify Health. Accidentally wandered into a bandit camp? Again? Well, if you don't want to get your sorry ass handed to you, Fortify Health is a great option. Even us mages and sneaky thieves can appreciate a bit of extra HP. I mean, who doesn't want to be a little less squishy? And of course, we can't forget the legendary Fortify Enchanting Loop. Combine Fortify Health with a few other choice enchantments and you'll be practically unkillable. S tier. Fortify Magicka. Oh, hell yeah! This enchantment is like the gateway drug for any aspiring mage. I mean seriously, what's a wizard without a hefty reserve of magical juice? A glorified milk drinker, that's what. So it's a good thing your boy's got some Magicka. Now you can totally use Fortify Magicka on its own, especially with the Fortify Alchemy Loop. But if you're not into the whole exploit scene, then Fortify Magicka is still a solid foundation. Combine Fortify Magicka with, say, Fortify Destruction, Fortify Conjuration, Fortify Restoration, heck, fortify everything magic related, I don't care. And you'll become a walking magical nuke. You'll never run out of Magicka mid-battle ever again. S tier. Fortify Restoration. Okay, so unlike some other Fortify enchantments, illusion, alteration, Fortify Restoration is actually useful. Slap a few of these bad boys on your gear and suddenly you're Wolverine. Grant healing. Child's Play. Stendarr's Aura. you'll be casting it so much the Aedra will start sending you fan mail. With enough Fortify Restoration, you'll be practically unkillable, especially with the good old Fortify Alchemy loop. S tier. Fortify Smithing. Seriously, do I really need to explain this? It's like giving your smithing skill a Red Bull. It grows wings and flies straight to legendary. With the Fortify Alchemy loop, you can turn a humble iron dagger into a freaking god-slaying instrument of doom. Seriously, there's no question that this enchantment is completely broken. S tier.